So just see how we go. Just lift and roll the shoulders. This lifting and the rolling the shoulders opens the gateways of the energy pathways of prana up into the head. So that's why we do that. And just feet apart, and let's just start with a very gentle sway from side to side. You can lift your heels or you can stay static, balancing the energy of 5 energies in the Eastern philosophy. So, energy movement is the opposite to stagnation and is viewed as energy flow is healthy. So then just very gently come to slow the movement down. Come to standstill. Come to bring your feet a little bit closer together. Feet hip width apart. And this is Ayurveda practice, circling the hands up, clasping, reversing the palms, stretching up, pressing your feet down. Breathing out, a slight lateral stretch. It can either be static or slightly pulsing. Breathing in, stretch up, and breathing out, go to the other side, slightly pulsing. The chin is into the chest very naturally. Come to standing. Breathing out, just turn to one side. Again, you can pulse. Come to the center. And very gently turn to the other side. Come back to the center, release your hands, and lift and roll the shoulders. Hands, yes, hands on waist.
Going on out there.
And just gently lift the heels. Balance. Yeah. I'm not very good, and then just release the heels and just soften the knees, bottom away from you. This will put on your abdominal control, and then just coming up to center. Release the hands, lift and roll the shoulders and clasp your hands behind you, knuckles aim to the floor, and you will be opening your shoulders, which opens the lung meridians and stretches your chest. You don't have to look up, you can just look straight ahead. And very gently turn to the left. You can lift your arms slightly away from you, your hands. Come to the center and very gently turn to the right. And come to the center. Release the hands, feet hip width apart as you slide your hands down to your shins. Press your hands into your shins and have a sense of a half lift, so you're lengthening from the tailbone to the top of the head. Breathing out, soften the knees, soften the elbows. Breathe in, press the hands into the shins. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, soften the knees, press the feet into the ground as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Lift and roll the shoulders. And then breathing in, circle the hands up. Palms touch at the center. Come back down through the center to the heart. Briefly rest your thumbs against the heart, lifting up. It really does align your pose. And then just release the hands. Lift and roll the shoulders. So the next round just is similar, but it moves from Ayurveda to Qigong. So soften and raise your hands upwards, clasp and reverse. We start in the same way by going laterally to one side. You can stay static or pulse in and out. Breathing in, come to the center and stretch up. And breathing out, just very gently go to the other side. Breathing in, come to the center. Lower your hands back down through the center. Reverse your palms as they face the floor. Step your feet hip width apart and begin to bend your knees. How far you come down is up to you. But when you feel that you've come down far enough, I'm going to have my hands literally almost just off the ground. Turn towards your left knee, so you're stretching the right side of your body. Come back to the center with your hands and very gently turn to the right, so you're stretching your left side. Come to the center, and if you're able to just touch the floor with your hands, soften your knees. That might be enough to a little soften. And for those of you or anybody who's very flexible, you can come to squat. That's not my forte. Patsy's brilliant at that. And then place your hands on the ground and feet parallel as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And then this very Tai Chi movement of flying, feet hip width apart, you're moving every joint. So there isn't really any explanation for this. The arms up, stretching under your arms, stretching along the intercostal muscles, your wrists, your hands, your elbows. If flying is too much, then you can just bend your elbows in, so your wingspan, so to speak, is less. Bending your knees, bending your ankles, the feet pressing into the ground. And then just very gently come to place your hands underneath. In the Chinese system, we know the name is called Dantian, yoga it's called Bahara. And just sense here to breathe a couple of breaths. And then breathing in, raise the hands up. This is almost going over your magnetic field, breathing out. But this is also breathing exercise. Come back to the Dantian. Breathing in, just come over the aura. And then breathing in, raising the hands up. And then just lift and roll the shoulders. Raise the hands out, softly hug yourself, curl in slightly and just rock from side to side. Breathing in, stand up, open the arms, and then just hug yourself the other way. The other arm on top. If you forget which arm is which, don't worry. Just up. Just then lifting and rolling the shoulders. And then just open the arms out, palms up. So this reflects the lobes of the lung. So this is the middle lung, the upper part of the mid lung. Palms down is the lower part of the mid lung. Palms close together like this is the inner mid part of the lung, and palms up is the upper lung, but to the inside. I'm hoping you're following me. Palms forward is the front part of the lung, and palms back is the top part of the lung at the back. And then there are 16 positions, so you're getting the idea. And then down, this is the lower part of the lung. So you can, and then the hands out. As I said, it's fascinating to play with that. So you can emphasize one part of the lung with the other from the hand positions. And if you think about it, the hand, the meridians run through to the heart, so it is quite interesting. and some of the movements. So I'm just going to do one immune booster just to join in before we move on. Just raise your arms as little as much as you like. So breathing in. And last one. Release your shoulders. If you wanted to do that to be not formulaic, but as it's meant to be, it's about 25 times. Lift and roll your shoulders. Hands underneath the armpits is like a chicken, is the mid part of the lungs. Your elbows almost hit the intercostal muscles. So that's the mid part, clearing out all the rubbish. And then last one, and then just lift and roll the shoulders. Again, if you wanted to do this to the full amount, it would be 25 times minimum. And then the final one is the lower part of the lungs, so it and last one. Release your hands, lift and roll.
Sorry, how many times can you do this one?
25,
25
50.
as well.
I just wanted to say, as we're coming out of lockdown, if you're concerned about your immunity, just doing one of those exercises up to 25 times will totally reboot and it's meant to boost your immune system. All three together is very much lung defense for total immunity. And this particular sequence is one that was used by the Kerala warriors in their tradition before battle. But of course, going back millennia, the enemy many years ago was disease. So it was always about the core. So this lower lung one strengthens the core because as you breathe out, your lower abdominal muscles are coming in. So we're going to come back down to the ground, you might be relieved to know. So just slightly sway from side to side. And then just very gently bring your hands together and come to a seated position with your feet out in front of you. If you want to sit up on a blanket, that's absolutely fine. And we've got Sue here, Charlotte, who's a reflexologist, so she'll hopefully confirm this, that when you stretch your feet out and extend your heels, if I'm right in saying this, Sue, where the toes join the parts of the foot
Yes.
is connected to the lung meridians again,
Yes.
which connects to your immune system.
Yeah, so you're stretching it and contracting it. And
So if you can see what Sue's doing, Charlotte, which probably you can't, we're stretching our feet, toes up to the ceiling, and then we're stretching the toes away. So breathing in as the toes go up to the ceiling and breathing out as the toes go away. And it's a way to boost circulation, which again is indirectly boosting your immune system. And then you can start to circle your ankles gently in one direction.
again, the ankles, the reflex points for your immune system, for your lower immune system around your ankles. So as you're moving your ankles, it's
Really? Yeah.
So did you hear that, Charlotte? The reflex points
for your lower lymphatic system are around your ankle bones. So as you're moving, you're actually stimulating your ankles to those reflex
the lymph
points
system.
without touching them. Yeah.
So without touching them, just circling your ankles like this is stimulating the reflex points of the lower
Lymphatic system.
lymphatic system. So, and then circle your ankles the other way.
It's a lovely, easy thing to
Do.
Yes, yes. It's nice to do without
Really?
touching them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, I know, we're coming out of lockdown, but everyone seems to be quite anxious. I'm not sure I'd be that super keen to go on a tube at the moment.
Definitely not.
And then just bounce your legs. That's vibration, which is the opposite to stagnation. And then either rub like dry skin brushing your legs, or pat them, or a combination. And just coming back to the feet again. If you, I'm being inarticulate here. So it's an evert-invert position. So your toes, so your big toes come together, your big toes go away. So it's almost a subtle invert-evert movement, which moves the feet in a slightly different way. And then just release. Hug the right knee into the chest, sitting up, and then just release the right leg out, and then hug the left knee into the chest. And then release. Circle your wrists in one direction, and then circle the wrists in another direction. And then just bring the tips of the fingers together. So I could talk to you ad nauseum about mudras. This is called Hakini Mudra. If you just gently replace the tips of the fingers together, you naturally focus your attention more. But once you start to focus your attention, you're letting go of lots of stresses and strains. So the view is that we've got slightly energy or a magnetic field beyond our body, and by touching the fingers together, you're redirecting the energy, not out into the world, but back into you. So it's viewed as a strengthening rather than a losing of energy. And again, you'll find that people, if they're thinking, what shall I have to eat or whatever, they tend to do that anyway. And then you might be very pleased to think that we're going to come to lie down.
That's just about money.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get two people up here. So we're going to lie down, but in lying down, have your knees bent, feet are hip width apart, palms are down on the mat alongside you, and just very gently turn your head from side to side. So you are, by turning the head side to side, you are massaging across the back of the skull, which is quite soothing for the nervous system. Just checking that the back of the neck is long. And come to the center with your head. And then you can either keep your palms down, or you can have your palms on your abdomen. As you let both knees drift to one direction, my knees are drifting to the right and my left hip is lifting off the ground. I'm bringing both knees back to the center, and both knees are drifting to the left, and my right hip is lifting off the ground. Bringing both knees back to the center, you engage your abdomen slightly to bring your knees back to the center, and again drift your knees to the right, your left hip lifts. How much you drift and lift is up to you. Coming back to the center and then go to the other side. And then as you start to sway from side to side, you can turn your head either in the direction of the knees or away from the direction of the knees. I don't know, my natural inclination would be the head away from the knees, but it's however your head goes. And this is connecting into some very fundamental somatic movements. You're massaging your head. You can even have your feet slightly wider than hip width apart. It's very soothing. It's very much exploring the movement of the, certainly the hips. If you want to make it more complicated, as you turn your head and your knees, you can uplift one palm. Again, I'm not going to give you an instruction of which palm, because that could drive you insane. I think there's a natural way. As your knees go, you can lift and turn one palm up, which then starts to rotate the arm and the shoulder socket. The body takes a good few minutes to start to release its tight grip, for the muscles to start to fully relax. And for the body to feel safe to relax. There's an invitation to close the eyes. And incidentally, I did some prison training, yoga for prisons, and there they told us that it's very rare for a prisoner to be able to relax, to close their eyes, because they're so highly wired all the time. So whatever works for you. And then come back to the centre. Just check that the back of your neck is, when I say long, that you're not shooting your chin up to the ceiling. And very gently hug one knee and then the other knee into the chest. Just rock gently from side to side. And then this time, keep the knees together and circle both knees in the same direction. So you're circling along a very small part of your lower back. And then very gently reverse that circle, going in the opposite direction. And then hug both knees into the chest, still hold the knees, let both knees drift away to arm's length. And hugging both knees in as you breathe out. Breathing in, just let both knees drift to arm's length. And carry on in your own time. Mostly we use our hands to hug our knees in, and that's probably the most satisfying. If you particularly want to strengthen the core and be very yogic, then you would loosen the grip of your hands and just let your abdominal muscles do the work to pull your knees in, but that's much harder. So even here there's a choice. And then just hugging in for one last time, just rocking from side to side. Supporting your knees, supporting your legs, perhaps holding them underneath the thighs. Bring the feet to the ground, knees up to the ceiling. Bless you, feet hip width apart. And just once more, either hands, palms on the ground or palms on the abdomen. Just gently sway your knees from side to side. And then stretch both legs out along the mat. Cross your right leg over your left. Raise both arms up, holding the wrist of one hand, and then just naturally make an S crescent, not an S, a crescent moon curve. So my right leg is crossed over the left, and I probably quite like to go to the left, getting a stretch along the right side. Come back to the centre, lower the arms, and cross your legs, and then cross your left ankle over your right. Bend your elbows as you raise your arms up above you. And then again, I probably would naturally go, just trying to think, it doesn't really matter, just go to a nice stretch on one side. Come back to the centre, lower your arms, and then uncross the left ankle from the right. Keeping the right leg where it is, come into half tree, so just bend up your left leg and place the left foot to the inside of your right leg. Because you're not putting any weight on your right leg, it doesn't really matter where your left sole of the foot goes to. If you wanted a blanket or a cushion or support underneath your left thigh, then you're welcome to do that. And it's just opening the left inner groin for a couple of breaths. I'm not going to keep you here for too long. So it's the part of the lower immune or the lymphatic system here. When we do tree, if you're trying to balance on one leg, you can sometimes lose the integrity of opening the left, or opening the groin, the inner groin. So this kind of does that for you. And then straightening out your left leg and bending up your right knee, placing your right sole of your foot towards the inside of your left leg. Hands either palms down or resting on your abdomen. And just taking a couple of breaths. You can take your right hand underneath your right thigh to support your right leg as you lift it up. And then bend your left knee. Both feet are on the ground, both knees are up to the ceiling. And just take a couple of pelvic tilts. Your palms are down on the floor. So pressing your back into the ground as if you're going to lift your bottom, and then releasing. The tailbone goes towards the ground away from you, and there's a little gap under your lower back. And again, flattening your back, and then releasing. And then bending your elbows, clasping your hands behind your head, support the back of the skull and the neck. And then bring your elbows together as you, I hope this makes sense, lift up slightly and go over to the left. You're not lifting a lot. Come back to the centre, the elbows come together, and then you slightly go over to the right. You're just slightly breathing out, lifting up and going over to the left, and then coming back to the centre, breathing out. Both elbows go slightly to the right, come to the centre, and just release your head back to the ground. Gently release the fingers from under the skull, release your arms back down to the earth. And then hug both knees into the chest, rock from side to side, And then place your left foot on the floor and do a half happy baby on the right leg. So I know, Sue, you like to hold on the outside, so that is certainly easier to hold on the outside of the foot. The knee, right knee comes to the floor. If you can't do that, then just hold your right thigh. You can yogically hold the other way round on the inside. So again, you can just sway slightly from side to side and half happy baby on the right side. It opens the hip, the right hip, in a slightly different way. And then just bend the right knee in, place the right foot on the floor, and come to half happy baby on the left side. So holding the foot on the outside or the inside. The knee comes towards the ground, your right hand can go on your hip bone or palms down on the floor. And then very gently release your left foot back down to the floor. And before we leave to come up onto our hands and knees, just place your hands on your abdomen. Perhaps place your right hand on your abdomen and just circle round the navel with your right hand. You tend to follow the direction of the digestion, so it goes, your hand goes from left to right, up, and then underneath your diaphragm. So all the major organs are represented around the navel, so it's almost like Pooh Bear. It's very comforting to massage. And then you can massage both hands from side to side, just however it works for you. It's very relaxing. If somebody else massages your tummy, sometimes you can jump because somebody else's hand on your abdomen is quite intrusive, but doing it yourself is a little bit more of a known quantity. And then just very gently come to the centre. Just notice your abdomen rising as you breathe in and just releasing as it goes back down again. And then very gently we're going to roll over. If the right side is available to you, come onto your right side, but it doesn't really matter. Rolling to the right rolls away from your heart in one particular yogic tradition. And then coming up to the hands and knees. So I know we've got various modifications here, so Rosie, you know exactly how far you can go on your hands and knees.
Yeah.
So come to the hands and knees and just start by swaying the bottom from side to side in a neutral position, wagging the tail. And then start to circle the tailbone in one direction. Again, taking care and paying attention to how much you want to circle. You might want to stay very neutral. And the very fact of circling the tailbone almost lifts and rounds your tailbone up. And then circle the tailbone in the other direction. And then come back to the centre. Stretch out your right foot and tuck your right toes under. So again, you're activating those lung meridians. And just rock forwards and backwards. So that you're just rolling over your big, on the bottom of your big toe, you're just stretching out the underneath of your foot. Now then turn to look over your left shoulder at your right foot. Come back to the centre and turn to look over your right shoulder.
Not quite.
That's easier.
Right shoulder, left.
Turn and look over one shoulder and then the other shoulder.
Just watch my back.
Okay, and then just bring the knee back down to the ground. Stretch your left foot out and just rock to forwards and backwards slightly. So when we come to looking over the shoulder of the left shoulder, it's optional as to whether you look over your right shoulder, which is stronger, look over your left shoulder, or don't look over your shoulder at all. And then replace your left knee on the ground. And come again within your own version of cat to cow, dipping your back, but again you might prefer, Rosie, to stay neutral, looking either up or along the mat, and then rounding chin to chest. And breathing in, dipping your back. And breathing out, rounding chin to chest. And dipping the back. And rounding chin to chest. We're going to come up to standing, but for anybody who doesn't relish down dog, you can come gently to standing in your own way, but otherwise come to standing via a downward dog, lengthening the back by bending the knees, and then as you begin to straighten the legs, walk the dog by bending one knee and then the other knee. The hips can sway from side to side. And then walking your hands to your feet to your hands, and begin to roll up very gently and very gradually, one vertebra at a time, to come to standing. And when you're here, just lift and roll your shoulders. Come to Tadasana or Samastiti, standing. Just pressing the feet into the ground. And then bring the hands to the heart. Breathing in, circle the hands up. Just touch the fingers in a dome at the top. There's a reason for that. And then just bring your hands through the center. Feel that your feet can be wider than hip width apart. Bend your knees and come to just place your hands on the shins. Breathing in, half back, half lift, flat back. Breathing out, bend in. Breathing in, flat back. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathe in, press your feet into the ground as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Circling the hands up, just doming your fingers, touching them together, bringing your hands through the center, lowering your hands and opening your palms, and then bring your palms back to alongside you. Breathing in, breathing out, hands together at the heart center. Circling the hands up, touching the fingertips. Bring your hands through the center. Roll down, bending the knees and bending the elbows. Hands on the shins. Press your hands into the shins, lengthen along the back, half lift. Breathing out, bend in knees and elbows. Breathing, half flat back. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, soften your knees, press your feet into the ground, and you can use your hands if you need to walk your feet, your hands up your legs. Circling the hands up, coming down. and open the hands out to the centre. One last time, hands together at the centre, breathing in, circling the hands up, come through the centre, bend your knees, bend your elbows as you slide your hands down, hands onto the shins, breathe in as you lengthen, half lift, breathe out as you bend in. Breathe in as you lengthen. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathe in, soften your feet and your knees, press your feet into the ground. Roll up vertebra by vertebra. Circling your hands up, fingers touch. And then come back through to the centre. Touch your thumbs to your heart centre just for an in and an out breath. And then release the hands back down alongside you. Lift and roll the shoulders back. So we're going to do a Tibetan Triangle, which is quite different from a normal Trikonasana. Feet hip width apart. Use one hand. I'm going to use my left hand against my thigh just to support. As you breathe in, snake your right arm in and up, and the inside of the palm of your right hand faces inwards. Stretch up with your right hand, and breathing out, you might go just millimeters, just come slightly over to the left, chin in. Your left hand is holding your left thigh, and feel that you're between two panes of glass, so you're really not going to go very far. Breathing in, come to the centre, and snake the right arm down. Breathing in, snake the left arm up, palms inwards, right hand on the right thigh. Breathing out, just come over. You're not going to go very far. Press your feet down to come up, and breathing out, lower your left hand. Lift and roll the shoulders. Feet hip width apart, and just slide your hands almost to the inside of your thighs, and perhaps feet slightly wider, just slightly sway from side to side. It's a slightly forward movement, compensating for the triangle movement that we've made. If you feel happier to touch your fingertips to the ground, that's fine too, as you sway your legs from side to side. And then very gently heel toe your feet together to hip width apart, and roll up vertebra by vertebra, lifting and rolling the shoulders. Bring your hands together, and we're going to come back down to the mat in a seated position. Legs out in front, in a nice V, as wide as you like, and flesh out, from under your bottom. And then just slide your hands down in a very relaxed forward bend. If your fingers touch your big toes, you can hold your big toes. If not, just hold your wherever works for you. Have a sense of lengthening along your back, and then just releasing forward. So forward bend tucks the chin into the chest, and that activates the vagus nerve, which is anti-inflammatory. So forward bends are always calming, but if you've got a bad back, then too much forward can be too much the other way. So it's a balance of coming forward. And then very gently sitting up, bending your knees, and coming to lying with your knees up to the ceiling, feet hip width apart. Just a couple of pelvic tilts. And then very gently come to center. You can either have your knees touching together in constructive rest, or if you'd like to come to Shavasana, come to Shavasana or whatever support you would like, under your head or under your knees, under your thighs even. And just bring your attention to your feet. Perhaps tense your feet and release, relax, let them go. Tense your knees, release, relax, let the knees go. Tense the bottom, release and relax. Tense the hands and the arms and release, relax, let everything go. Consciously lift the chest up away from the floor. You slightly stretch the chest and then release and relax, let that go. Consciously bring your shoulders up towards your ears and just as consciously move your shoulders down away from the ears. And then gently turn the head once more from side to side. Bringing the head back to the center. Take a moment to have what is called sankalpa, it's your thought for the day. It can be for you, or for anybody else. And now as you breathe in, imagine the air coming in through the nostril to a point in the center of the head. And as you breathe out, the air, like a fine veil, travels all the way through the body and takes with it anything you don't want today. Any pain, niggle, any emotion, leaving through the soles of the feet. Bringing the focus back to the nostrils, breathing in. Breathing out all the way down through the body and letting the air leave through the soles of the feet. And now pick a colour, any colour that resonates with you today. And as you breathe in coloured air of the colour of your choice to the point in the centre of the head, and breathing out all the way down the body, putting into that air anything that doesn't serve you today, letting it leave through the soles of the feet. And then like cotton wool, take that coloured air and wrap yourself like a cocoon inside and out, conferring protection for the day ahead. And then release and let that go. Take your hands and just rub your hands together, activating the nadi points, the energy points in the hands. And then just place the palms of the hands over your closed eyes. And gently open your eyes into the darkness of the hands and just let the hands then slide away from your face. And now bend one knee and bend the other to come back to that gentle circle from swaying from side to side. Just soothing out the lower back again. Connecting to the foundational Apana energy. And then taking your time to roll once more to the right, if that's available to you. Stay for an in and an out breath as you roll to the right. And really take your time to come up to a seated position. We've been lying down, so the adjustment from lying to seated should be, in theory, smooth and minimal. I think I got lost. And then very gently take the hands to the heart, bow the head. Have a lovely day ahead. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And